Hey, welcome back to the ministry. Because in a way, this is a ministry. Kingdom Creative Connected Collective. Because we're developing. If you don't know already, I'm a Christian creator. So I consider it to be part of a ministry irregardless. So we're going to pick up where we left off. And we're going to talk about, you already know the steps that you need to take. I remember one time I was listening to a set of business entrepreneurs, because I used to follow a set of business entrepreneurs. Whenever you are looking to get into any field, you need to start looking for mentors, people that are in the fields that you're interested in, or at least teaching you how to get into those fields that you're interested in. And you need to keep these people as voices that are in your ear at all times to keep you motivated when you get into a slump. Because you listen to them long enough, because they got other content, that when you're listening to them over and over and over and over and over and over and letting them pour into you, when you're not listening to them, they're kind of like that parental voice that will come into your ear when you're slacking on your creativity and be like, you haven't done that. Why haven't you done that? You haven't done this. And you start to actually hear them. It happens to me all the time because I listen to certain people and have been listening to them for a matter of years. I can almost automatically think of, if I was having this issue and I was before this particular mentor, what would that person say to me? And they would probably chew me out, and I would hear them chewing me out in my head. You already know the steps. Why aren't you doing them? Huh? What you mean? I don't know the steps. I'm just here trying to learn. I'm just here because I enjoy your attitude. I thank you. But we're here to actually start creating. We may not be here to make money just yet, but we're here to start creating. And you're going to learn steps. You probably already know the steps. A lot of us already know what to do. It's already ingrained in us, because if you're starting from your authentic things that you already have talent in, I'm a Christian, you're going to get this Jesus. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about the Proverbs 31 woman. Everything that she was doing was already in her house. The Proverbs 31 woman was a gardener. She was tending to the garden outside of her house. 2, she was one that sewed clothing. That's a fashion designer. That's a designer. That could even be a tailor if you look at it. She was a person that cooked food for her people in her house. She was always speaking good things, and her family spoke good about her. That means she was a good advisor. She would go out into the field and she would see a piece of land and buy it. That's a real estate person. She would see the merchant ships and all of these kinds of things, and she would see material and stuff that she wanted. She would take the material, bring it home, and make what? Clothing. Fashion designer. So she could be a tailor and a designer. And there were 2 other things. Wool, flax. She recognized that. What does that sound like? Sweater. Quill. Already in your house. There's another scripture that talks about, I believe it's in 2 Kings, about a woman who was in debt because her husband passed away and she didn't have no money. She went to a local person that was known by her husband, and the man said, what do you already got in your house? What do you already have in your house? What talent are you sitting on right now that you haven't tapped into to create? You already know the steps. You're just sitting on them because the thought of producing something scares you. So there's a video I watched recently by Erin on Demand, and I actually didn't watch it because I already understood that. I'm not the person that's going to procrastinate when I get an idea. I get the idea, I get to work. But for those of you that don't, that might be a video for you. where she talked about being scared to start. A lot of you are scared to start. There's a quote called our deepest fear. Our deepest fear is not that we won't be successful and that we'll fail, because there are three elements of fear around failure. There's fear of loss, fear of failure, and fear of death. But what it is that we are most afraid of truly is the exact opposite. That thing's going to catch life. That thing is going to be a success. And that thing is going to that you're not going to lose it. That it's going to catch flight. So a lot of people are more afraid of the success of it than the fear, because of the weight of the transition to be able to climb the elevation of continuing to grow that thing. When you start somewhere, you don't stay where you start, and a lot of people get comfortable where they are because they don't want to go through the process of transitioning to something better. Take a baker on any given day. That if a baker starts creating something in their household, that's going to work for a minute. But if they start getting extra sales that they can't manage in their home baking environment, they're going to have to move outdoors somewhere to a co-working kitchen that's big enough for them to make the fullness of the fulfillment of the sales that they are producing. Then, because they are making so many sales, they're going to have to hire on a fulfillment assistant, meaning they're going to have to hire on a company to assist them when it gets too big for them to handle. They're going to have to hire on a team. And that's where a lot of people get fear. They get fear of starting because they don't want to get to that level and not be able to maintain it. This is why we see a lot of YouTubers right now walking away from these platforms, because they've gotten to a point that they can no longer afford to pay their team and this and that and the other. Because what happened, it isn't the fact that they weren't good at what they were doing. They were good at what they were doing. They were unable to adjust in the shift of the transition every time they needed to do a transition, because you're not going to just transition once. Whoo, I made it through that transition. No, you're going to transition again and again, because the bigger the increase, the more space you're going to need for whatever it is. For you guys that work online, you're great because of the fact that everything's online. So you just need somebody that can better handle, because this does happen, that when you're online, you have payment processors that can't handle when you get larger payment sets. You got a slew of people just came in. We're going to close your account. No, don't close my account. I need that money to get in there. So you got to change payment processors. Oh my, I ran out of bandwidth and space, and I can't get no bandwidth and space at this particular location. I'm going to have to shift my entire company to another platform. So on and so forth. People get afraid of that part. But can you first get started? Because you worrying about that isn't going to help you. You know the steps. You're afraid of those phases. Your deepest fear is the success of it, that you won't be able to handle the weight of that part. So I'm going to need you to just start. Okay? I'm going to need you to do the basic part of figuring out the steps of how to do that thing. You like to bake cookies? Okay, write down your recipes. You want to be cute about it? Go to the Barnes & Noble. They have these wonderful books that are recipe books that you can write them all down. It can become a family heirloom. Write all your recipes down. I'm talking about all of them. Every recipe for whatever food it is that you are in love with. Tweak the recipe to your liking so that it's that one thing that's unique to you, because that could be a selling point later on. Then figure out fulfillment processors that maybe you can find people that will do it as a customizable bake that can be done online, and then you can have it delivered and shipped out. Or you can do it from your home and then Uber Eats it out. But we have the steps. You're a fashion designer, design. Then go and take that design, digitize it. Take that digitized design and do what you're going to do with it. I used to digitally draw and use a mouse and digitally draw it. A family member of mine showed me this animated doll website that no longer exists anymore, by the way, that I was able to create similar dolls to what was on that site and then use them as croquis and develop my own clothing on top of that. Start designing. And now that we got this AI thing that I say that I don't like that much, because like I said, people will sit up there and have the AI design it. I need you to design it first. Can you design it first? Because you don't want to rest on that. You can have it improve on that, but don't let it start on that. Okay? Because you can then go into Photoshop and adjust. And if you want to use AI to adjust the image, great. Do that. Do what's good for you. But start authentically from your own work. I will never tell you start with AI. Start from your own work. Use AI to help you get ideas and generate ideas. But if you're doing a mood board, great. Let AI be your basis for your mood board. But don't let AI become the central of what you create. Ever. Because if there ever come a time the AI shut down, what you gonna do? Is your whole business gonna be dead in the water because of that? This is why authenticity is necessary. Because you can build from your authenticity, but if you use a computer, you can't do nothing with it. So, you already know the steps. Pick an avenue and roll with it. We're gonna come back in the next one.